Today we're going over two things that you need to know in order to master the tripod photo shoot.
Interval shooting and all area focus, including eye tracking.
Yeah, we're gonna set up an interval timer. So the camera's actually going to be taking the photos for us on an interval in a sequence at the time limits that we set. We're gonna also show you how we use our all area or whole area autofocus to allow the camera to understand what we're going for during our photo shoot.
The first step is you're going to press menu, and under either the 5th, 6th, or 7th screen, you'll see interval timer. When you click on interval timer, you'll have the option to enable your settings, and then you'll want to click on detail set. From here, you get to decide how many seconds or the interval timer that is in between your shots. I like anywhere between 1 to 3 seconds in between shots. It gives you enough time to try different ideas, but to also get set up before the next shutter. I also love to set up the number of shots between 10 to 20 because it gives you enough variety within one sequence of photos to get a couple of good shots that you really, really like. Once you have your details set, you press OK. And then when you press your little shutter button, you should be able to see somewhere on your display screen the timer and then the interval being engaged and enabled and ready to go. Now, there were a few friends who mentioned that they already know how to set up interval timer, but they weren't exactly sure what focus setting to put in order to capture focus on really dynamic shots. Of course, you can always do a really static shot and really nail the focus, but it's a little bit harder when you start running around and not necessarily looking right at the camera. So we're going to talk a little bit about all area focus. When setting up your focus, you can do this by clicking on Q, or sometimes it's info, but you're going to want to look for something that kind of looks like this. It's your area focus, and it's where you get to decide whether or not you want to enable or disable your eye tracking. I always love to keep my eye tracking on because then if I ever have a moment where I look away from the camera and it loses focus, anytime I look back at the camera, it should be able to find my eyes and capture the focus again. I like to set up for this kind of photo shoot, a tripod photo shoot, I like to set up my all area focus. There is a couple of different versions of focus. You have spot area focus, you have expanded area focus, you have this really fun one where it's the area and then around, and then there are a couple of other flexible zone focuses on your camera. Ours offers whole area focus. I do find that this setting with the eye tracking enabled is the best way to capture interval shots. So I can see when I'm looking into the eye of the camera every time it shutters. So in between shots, and this is why it's so cool to set up like 2 or 3 seconds in between, I can readjust and find a new pose. So allow yourself to get into a posing flow, is what I like to call it, where you're constantly moving, but also setting up for the next shot in your interval. Those are beautiful. Great.
Start with this one.
Oh, I love that.
And then show everybody.
Yes. And did you notice that it had any like focusing issues in between shots?
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. That's just the advice, is like make sure that in between your shots you're looking towards the camera. Obviously you want to do like cool shots, and sometimes you get lucky and it can grab focus because it understands that you're a human and that you're the one thing that's moving in the frame. But I think that it's so helpful if you can just try to look at the camera before you do something really fun. So here are just a few examples.
So that's one way to do it, and that's relying heavily on the whole area autofocus in general. The other way to do it is if you have a partner and you're going to be taking some photos together. So one thing that you can really achieve when you have two people present is you can have your partner stand in the desired spot, and you can actually set the focus at that point, and then you'll start the interval, and then you kind of get to run into the frame. We've found a lot of success with this strategy, even when we're a lot further away from the camera. It's almost like if you tell it where you were going to start, it can kind of follow you around through the frame, and it's really smart enough to handle that type of movement. But if you just pick a spot and you're by yourself, it's kind of tough because it's almost like it has to try and find you, and it can't really separate between the space where you weren't and all of a sudden now you're there. So it kind of just, it helps a lot if there's an extra person that you can work with.
So it's also a mindset thing. Don't go into an interval tripod photo shoot thinking that every single shot's gonna work out. You may take up to like 400 photos using interval, and maybe 20 of them are amazing. Go for the 20 amazing ones though, with an open mind and an open heart, and you'll find so much more satisfaction in the process versus if you have your expectations misaligned and you think that they're all going to turn out incredible, then it's going to be a lot more disappointing when maybe one really cool shot that you did just doesn't work out. Sometimes you set up 20 shots for interval and you did the cutest thing because you got into your mojo towards the end of those shots, and then those just don't get captured, and that's okay. It's all right to still just enjoy the moment.
It's also a really good idea to have a phone or another camera behind it, getting that as a BTS clip, because
yes,
at least you'll have video of it then.
Yeah, just content. Right now we're recording this on one tripod with our camera, and then we also have a secondary tripod that has our BTS on an iPhone.
Now you're ready to create your amazing tripod photo shoot.
Because I want you to be ready to do a tripod photo shoot.
And so enjoy your next tripod photo shoot.
All right.
Get out there and create.
Bumps, here we go.
We'll see you in the next one.
Bye. Let's create a heart. Yay. Sorry, no face photo.